So, all right, we are officially live. Um, man, my boys, they're starting to get into um games that I played forever ago.
Mm,
Um, like there's one called Winged Warrior. I don't know if you
uh-huh.
ever it's older.
Yeah.
Have you've heard of it?
No, no, that's a new
Okay.
one on me.
It's it's kind of like a original Legend of Zelda dungeon crawler, sort of,
Okay.
but like even cheaper made.
I love it. Love it.
um, like everything is turn based with minimal graphics and everything. And so as a teenager, I had played Winged Warrior 3 with my cousin. And so a long while back, I had found a website that you could download it for like $5 or $6. And I was like, I'll just hit the nostalgia and I'll try it out. And well, the website that you bought it from, all it does is give you the executable. And so
Okay.
I just copied it over to my kids' computers, and so they've been playing it, and have been my 11-year-old has already beaten it like all the way through, um, and and it's a fun enough little game, but there's not a ton of story, but it does make some references to the previous two games that I never
Okay.
played.
Yeah.
It actually kind of reminds me of Commander Keen a little bit.
Oh, no, Commander Keen. I played those games religiously.
Yeah, Commander Keen was a lot better, but the overworld of Winged Warrior reminds me of the overworld from Commander Keen.
Yeah.
Um, and so like Winged Warrior, it goes in such a crazy direction. Like you start off on an alien planet, but you're a knight with a sword, and you go around, and then you get some lasers,
As you
and,
do.
as you do, and then you end up in another world where it's a fantasy world where you can use magic, but on this fantasy world your lasers don't work, but you have magic now. And then the final boss, you can use all of your abilities, but if you go back to the alien planet your magic doesn't work anymore. And but
Yeah.
as a teenager, my cousin had the demo of it, so he didn't even have the full version originally.
Yeah.
And so we played through, and you get to basically the midpoint where you fight the who's going to be the big boss at the end. And like all the text is, run away, hurry, get away. Like you're not supposed to win. And we
Yeah.
didn't win the first time because we were playing it, taking turns and playing it together ish. It's a one player game. And so we decided, okay, well, if this is as far as we can get, we're just gonna grind until we're max level and we're gonna beat him, because that's as far as
Yes.
we can get. And so we spent hours level grinding at a training center at the very beginning that gives relatively small experience until we were max level. And it the whole time it's run away, and then we beat him and he's like, I'll let you live. And so it was very clear that you weren't supposed to be able to win that.
Yeah.
But yeah, my cousin ended up getting the full version later, and it actually let us continue where the demo was.
Okay.
So we beat the second half with a max level character.
I love it.
But yeah, it was fun.
Funny thing about Commander Keen, we had that. We had several of them. I guess like the first three Commander Keens, and my mom, who I don't think has ever played a video game before or since, was low key addicted to Commander Keen. I don't know why. I don't know what it was, but she played the mess out of that game. Like she probably played it as much as I did.
It Commander Keen was good.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so basic, like just like the original Duke Nukems, the side scrolling Duke Nukems. It basic but a lot of fun.
Yeah. Um, I
There goes the chair.
yeah,
Did you hear it?
yeah, I did. Yeah. Thinking back to those old DOS games, my two favorites were Dune 2, which basically created
Okay.
real-time strategy games, which was my favorite. And you can now get that as an app. Like someone ported it into an app on the Android store. And so you can play the original Dune 2 on your phone now. And I've been slowly plunking my way through that. Then the other was, I don't even remember the name of it. What was it? But it was, for it to be a DOS game. I've gone back and played it like many years later. I've found ROMs of it, and but it was like an open world medieval explorer game, like adventuring party RPG, set in like surprisingly realistic medieval Germany. And like the overworld map was huge. It had like probably a couple hundred towns on there, and every town you could visit, and it would have different areas you could visit. It was absolutely wild. Darklands, that was the name of it.
Okay.
Darklands. Man, and that game is just begging for someone to remake it. So
Oh
it was
man.
ahead of its time. Ahead of its time.
Random kid popping in chat. I love that gorilla game with the exploding bananas. Is that I think I know which one he's talking about. It was a DOS game where, if I remember correctly, you set how hard and the angle that they threw the bananas, and they were up on like skyscrapers, and you took turns throwing these exploding bananas trying to blow up the other gorilla.
Okay.
Random kid, is that the one you're talking about? So, well, there's that. Snake. My first computer was a computer that my dad had, like, it had basically stopped working, and he brought it home from work, and he gave it to me, and he was like, I don't even know how to get it running. And so it came up with a command prompt, and if you type, I don't remember if you had to type in something specific, but I typed in start, and it loaded up. But all it had on it was, I think it had that gorilla game, and it had Snake, and so playing it.
Yeah.
But
I had one of those Nokias, the brick Nokias that you could like back over a car with, and it had Snake on it. And I had a buddy who he would borrow that and would like every time he'd just get on there and would blow my score like so far out of the water, and I would get so pissed every time. Give me back my phone.
Dooley's here in chat saying Donkey Kong. Which Donkey Kong, Dooley? Is that the original Donkey Kong with Mario, or what? Which Donkey Kong is that? And Random Kid says that is the one, the gorilla one that we were describing. But yeah. All right. Well, we're 10 minutes late, so I guess we'll go ahead and get started. And Kurt will or will not join us. We'll find out. So here we go.
Get ready to laugh out loud with Wise and Nerdy, the show hosted by two hilarious dads who are bringing their unique blend of wit, wisdom, and nerdiness to the airwaves. From sharing hilarious anecdotes about their own experiences to giving advice on navigating the ups and downs of life, these two dads have got you covered. But that's not all. They're also obsessed with all things nerdy, from comic books and sci-fi movies to video and board games. So whether you're a fellow dad, a pop culture fanatic, or just in need of a good laugh, tune in to Wise and Nerdy and join in the fun.
All right. And tonight we are without Charles, and so far without Kurt. We will have to wait and see if Kurt decides to join us here in a little bit. Theoretically, he will, but he is practicing with his barbershop quartet. But with me today is Bob McGough.
Woo! Woo!
But,
Yeah.
So, Charles, we've debated. How do you actually pronounce your last name?
Not anything like you'd think. It's McGough.
McGough.
Yeah.
McGough.
Yeah.
All right. So, also known as Tales by Bob, and an eclectic author.
Yeah, I wish. Yeah, if I was a billionaire, I would still come on here, but your people would have to reach out to my people first. So, but yeah, no, I'm just excited to be back. I had a ton of fun when we did it at Chattacon. So,
oh, it was a blast.
Yeah.
Charles reached out to you, and like you were the first person he thought of. He's like, I'm going to be out. We need to get Bob back on. And so he reached out to you, and you agreed to join us.
Yeah. So looking forward to it.
So if you weren't here for the pre-show, that sucks because we had some great conversations. But if you wanted to hear that pre-show, you can head on over to patreon.com/wiseandnerdy, where the unedited version of the show goes up, including the pre and post show. So good stuff there. Let's go ahead and start with...
It's the question of the week.
And the question of the week this week is, what is your favorite thing about the beach? How often do you go to the beach, Bob?
Okay. So I actually go a lot. My mom retired down to Orange Beach. So she lives on Ono Island down in Orange Beach. And so I go down there all the time. The kiddo loves the beach. The wife kind of loves the beach, and I hate it. Well, correction, I hate it during the day. I am way too pale, way too pasty white. If I eat, like, the last time we were down there, I was literally under our pavilion that we brought, and I still got sunburned. Like, I got sunburned through the pavilion. Like, I need SPF Irish, and they don't make that.
SPF Irish.
Yeah. So I also one of my favorite creatures is sharks. I love sharks. Love reading about them. Jaws is the second best movie that was ever made. But it's one of those, like, I'm scared of it, so that's part of the attraction. So I don't go in the water. So I can't be in the sun. I don't go in the water. But what I do love about the beach is, like, when it starts getting dark, like walking down the beach to a restaurant. Like, I love that, where the sand is kind of cool. You get that, like, sea breeze blowing. You go find a restaurant and eat some, like, terrible for you, way overpriced, but you're okay with it because you're at the beach food.
Okay.
And I love it. I love that. The rest of it, sand gets places. It's not ideal. But
so you're like Anakin.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm that would be my hell, is being on Tatooine. Yeah. No, I would just let a sand warrior would come up, and I just, please take me, just put me out of my misery.
Oh man.
Yeah.
My family has an annual beach trip. My in-laws basically pay for it every year. Like, they pay for almost all of it. And so, you don't turn down a free vacation, right?
Oh, no.
But I really don't care for the beach, but my kids absolutely love it. And so my strategy, because like you, I hate sand.
Yeah.
But I will go in the ocean. But I let my kids know, once I go into the ocean, when I'm done in the ocean, I'm going back to the beach house, because once you're wet, all that happens is you get sand everywhere.
Oh yeah.
And so That's my strategy. And so before I get into the ocean, I'm sitting there reading a book and, well, trying to read a book. Usually it's more, Dad, take a picture of this. Dad, take a picture of this. I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
okay. And so my kids have a ton of fun. And when I do go out into the ocean, they try to use me as a flotation device.
As you do.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
I am not a boat, which makes them just try to hop on even more.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, like I do find when I get a chance and my kids aren't, trying to ride on top of me, I do love just floating on my back in the water. It's very relaxing and just letting the waves go up and down, and it. I like that part of the ocean. I like the ocean. I like being on vacation. I don't like the beach.
Yeah. So you just need to find a way to just cut the beach from the equation.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. I love water. We like to go kayaking, and a buddy of ours just got a pool in the
Nice.
like at the tail end of summer. Like we had to go swimming one time, and we've already told him, was like, just get ready, we're basically moving into your backyard this summer. But man, just the last time we went down to visit my mom, the week leading up to that, there's a island there that's kind of in this bay that's right there right around where my mom lives, and it's where a lot of boats people will go and park, and kind of wade around there. And it was someone, cell phone footage of like multiple hammerhead sharks were like swimming up to the boats and whatnot, and that is like half a mile from where we go to the beach at when we're down there. And I was like, yep, see, I told y'all, I knew there were sharks. I knew they were there. But the last time we went, when I got sunburned through the pavilion, it was actually really nice because the weather was terrible. Like it was storming, but all the storms passed just north of us. So like you could see the storms off in the distance. But it made it a little cooler. The breeze was nicer. I wish a few more clouds had maybe come our way. But it was actually really nice. And so the next day we were like, oh, let's go back out. We'll go out again. And it's like, oh, it's going to storm again, but I'm sure it'll probably just pass the same route that it kind of took yesterday. And we got out there, we got the tent, the pavilion all set up. We were under it for about, I don't know, 45 seconds of being good and settled. And then it was like lightning bolt, thunder, like a mile away. Like, oh, okay, cool. Back to the car. So,
we're done. We're out.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But
yeah, oh man, there's so many different ways to get shade at the beach. And so for the first few years that I would go with my in-laws, they had a couple of just beach umbrellas that you had to screw in the anchors and everything. And so then my wife and we bought a canopy.
Yeah.
But so heavy to lug that thing back and forth. And a few years back, my in-laws actually bought a shaboomy. I don't know. You may not have heard it, but I bet you've seen them. It's one pole that has an arch, and they fly back almost like they use the wind to keep themselves up. Yeah. And as long as there's a breeze, which usually there's at least somewhat of a breeze at the beach, as long as there's a little bit of a breeze, it works really, really well. And so that's been pretty awesome. We have had a couple of days, like I think we've been using it for 3 or 4 years now. We've had like 1 or 2 days where we just couldn't catch a breeze. But other than that, it has worked phenomenally. And it's way lighter than the canopy, and so it's been a lot of fun having that. So
Yeah. As the guy who, as the dad, the 6'1" portly dad, if there's a cannon to be lugged, it's this guy.
as the designated beast of burden.
Yeah. So I've got canopy over one shoulder, ice chest under the other, wheezing my way onto the beach. Yeah, no, I know. So that sounds great. I've seen them. I'd actually never seen them before until this last year when we went to the beach, and I saw a couple. I was like, "That's pretty cool," but I've never known anyone that had one. So
they are kind of spendy though. How much are they? The Shibumi? I want to say they're like $300.
But how much is open heart surgery?
$270 to $300.
If it saves
how
me
much
a
is
heart
an
attack.
ER visit for heat stroke?
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, so they're like $250, $300, but it's way lighter than a canopy. We've rather enjoyed it, and I mean, it might be possible to make your own, because really it's one camping, because it's just the tent pole where you just pole. Yeah, it's the one tent pole, and then it's just parachute fabric. So my mother-in-law, she said that if this one ever ripped, she's considering just sewing her own.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I've got a very crafty mother-in-law. It's like, earn your keep, woman. Let's go.
Well, and then it's in a canvas bag, and what you actually do, which you probably saw, is the canvas bag that it comes in, that it attaches to as an anchor, you fill it with sand. So you put it inside out, you fill that with sand, and you use that to anchor down the one tent pole. So
that's smart. That's smart.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and
roll that dice.
Ooh, I know that voice.
Yeah, you do. All right. Got.
Can you dig it?
Which is, what do you think about? Tonight we're gonna do, you being the author that you are, I thought you might want to weigh in on this. What do you think about book to movie adaptations?
Yeah, it's a really loaded topic. But that said,
it really is.
So I think I can safely say that 90% of them are hot garbage. The only category that's worse is video game movie adaptations. Like, it's like, oh gosh, those are like 98% of those are terrible. But well, no spoilers, but for date night, me and my wife went and saw Dune 2.
Okay.
I guess like 3 weeks ago. Did not get the sandworm popcorn bucket. Really, really wanted it, but like they wanted like $40 for it or something like that. And it's like, I'm not.
Well,
I'm not paying $40.
Was it one of those ones where you can bring it back and get cheap refills with it or something?
If it did not give me a massage as I stuck my hand in the sandworm's mouth, I was not going. It was not worth it. It was real cool looking. So that one though, that was honestly, that was the only movie that I've seen that improves on the book.
Really?
A lot of. Now, I'm not going to say it's better than the book. The book overall is better, but Dune 1 was good. It was really good. I don't know, 8 out of 10. Dune 2 was like 9.75 out of 10. And it was really, there's only one scene in that whole movie that I was just not really jiving with. But there were parts of it I was like, this is better than the book.
See, I haven't read the book yet. My brother-in-law gave me, well, I know it's multiple books, but my brother-in-law gave me the first book for Christmas, and I need to get around to reading it. But
yeah, you will. It's one of those, you'll either love it or hate it. There's
okay.
I don't know many people that are kind of, it's all right. It's a very it's a very different book. Um, but man, that one, like, it was exceptional. It really tackled, like, it kind of focused on some slightly different things than what the book focused on, and did it in really cool ways, and I loved that. Um, but then there are others that are just hot garbage. But what I will say
Yep.
is, if I watch the movie first, I don't mind nearly as much that it's not as good.
Yeah, because then you read the book and you're like, oh yeah, this is really good.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
like, I saw Annihilation.
I haven't seen that one.
It came out, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago, maybe. Now time is a flat circle. I'm terrible with years. And so it came out in the past decade. And it was pretty good. I really enjoyed it. And then I went and read the book, and the book was totally different in so many ways. And the book was better, but it was one of those, almost like, if you just viewed them as two totally different things. If you had not told me that Annihilation the movie was based on Annihilation the book, I'd have been like, oh, that was kind of similar. That's something kind of similar, but this is really good. So yeah.
See, and I really like what have you ever read Ready Player One?
Yeah.
So I really like, towards the beginning of that book, it has a comment in there like, there have been so many adaptations of this story. This is me setting it straight. And so I'm like, okay, well, the movie's just an adaptation that's not right because the book said it's not right.
Yeah. Yeah. Dark Tower did something kind of like that. The miniseries that they did here not long ago, I think. Or maybe it was a movie. I don't know. I have not read all the Dark Tower, so I didn't make a point of watching that. But what I was told is they made a conscious decision that, for those who don't know, the Dark Tower, it's cyclical. It's kind of like the Wheel of Time, the turning of the wheel.
Okay.
Similar kind of structure there. And so they were like, oh, this was just another turning of the world. So yeah, there are differences from the books, but that's because this is not telling the story of the books. Yeah, it's not that turning of the wheel. This is a different turning. So if people do things like that and they make conscious decisions around that, I think you can do some really cool stuff with it. Most folks just don't do that, you know?
Yeah. Well, and there's way too many times, and this isn't just book to movie adaptations, this is just Hollywood in general, where the people attached to the project, all they care, now they should care about profits to a certain extent, but there's times where all they care about is profits. They have no respect for the source material at all, and it's very evident in their work that they do. Like DC, I think, is one of the most egregious ones when it comes to that, because they're like, oh, it feels like they've Googled what are some of the best things in the comics, and then they read the little synopsis on it and they hodgepodge things together and say, okay, that's our movie.
Yeah,
yeah.
So I had a buddy that, and I find it to be somewhat less so in movies than in shows. In shows, especially any show that's an adaptation, what he was telling me, and this makes a lot of sense, is what ends up happening is there's a screenwriter out there who wants to tell a story, and then they get attached to this adaptation, this project, and then they're like, okay, well, how can I make this IP fit the story I want to tell, rather than trying to tell the story that the IP was trying to tell? Like, oh, let me tell my story, and I'm just going to shoehorn in all these tropes. Actually, I'm a huge True Detective fan. All right, True Detective season 1 is the single best season of television ever created. Come at me, I'll fight you. We don't talk about season 2. Season 3 was really good, and then season 4 came out, and season 4 is tonally quite different, and because, as it turns out, the showrunner pitched a horror miniseries to HBO, and HBO was like, "Hey, this could be a True Detective. Let's make it a True Detective."
Okay.
And that's what happened. So it got a lot of backlash. I have not finished it yet, because I'm terrible with time management. But what I saw was really good, but it did feel quite different, because it was much more horror oriented than True Detectives 1, 2, and 3 were. So,
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah.
it's real good though. It's real good.
I mean, as far as book to movie adaptations, I think it's probably pretty safe to say that the general public considers the Lord of the Rings trilogy to probably be the gold standard when it comes
Oh,
to a good adaptation.
yeah.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, what Peter Jackson did there, regardless of any gripes of what he cut, because, you know, he those books are huge. He had
Yeah.
to cut stuff.
Yeah.
His love for the project really shines through in it. And in my feed lately in Facebook, I've been getting some interviews with some of the cast members and talking about just how passionate Peter Jackson was for it, and telling them, like, this is gonna be what I am known for. Like, this will be
Yeah.
amazing. We are going to change cinema. And
Yeah.
he delivered. Not so much on The Hobbit, but on Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, the problem there was tonally, Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit are very different books, very, very different books, and also The Hobbit's a lot shorter, and so
Well, and it's my understanding that because he wasn't originally attached to that project, he got brought in partway through, and the stories that I heard was that he was writing the script like the night before,
yeah.
before they shot. So
Wasn't it originally like Guillermo del Toro was supposed to originally direct it or something like that, and then he backed out? But yeah,
maybe.
I'd heard something like that he was not meant to direct it, because why would you? Like, you've already kind of set the gold standard. You're not going to improve on that, especially when your source material is The Hobbit, which I actually love more than Lord of the Rings. You know, but they're very different books.
Yeah. Yep.
But
So
I'm actually somewhat kind of going through this right now. I am actually a screenwriter, came in and turned my series into a pilot. It is currently shopping it around. So look, the likelihood of this ever getting made is like 0.001.
Hey,
but it's a cool thing.
The fact that a screenwriter is interested, that's pretty awesome.
And she did work on one of the I don't want to reveal who she is in case this never goes anywhere, but she did work on a season of True Detective, which when I found out, I was like, oh my God. But she's done, she's done stuff. But anyway, so she's very much like in the know. And so like I've been getting a lot of insight into like the screenwriter's perspective on how some of these things come to be. And yeah, it's kind of awful.
Oh man.
If you ever read The Godfather, Mario Puzo, wanted to write the screenplays for his books and like didn't get to do it. And you see a lot of that bitterness coming onto the page where any scene involving like the Hollywood stuff, especially like how the screenwriters get abused and stuff like that. It's a real interesting read, especially when you know the background of Mario Puzo and kind of the struggles he was undergoing with trying to break into that industry. So
okay,
yeah.
So we've heard some mixture of good versus bad adaptations. Do you have any that you would consider like the absolute worst book to movie adaptation that you can think of?
Oh man, the absolute worst.
If you want to spend some time thinking about it, I've got it. Yeah. I've got one on mine.
Yeah, so, go for it.
For me, it's got to be Aragon. That was atrocious. Have you ever read Aragon?
No.
Okay.
I was a little older. I was a
Okay.
little older than the target market when it came out, so I
Got
missed
it.
that one.
Yeah, so Aragon, that book, I read that book long before the movie came out, and it's a very good book, especially when you consider that the author was 15 when he wrote it.
Yeah.
And so very, very good book. The movie, so you talked about how if you see the movie first and then read the book, oftentimes that's a much better experience, at least as far as enjoying both mediums goes. And that was definitely the case for my wife. She had seen Aragon and she was like, oh yeah, it's okay. As a generic fantasy, okay is about right. But once you read the book, you're like, oh, that was horrible. Like, just some for instances. There is a race in there called the Urgles. They're kind of orc-ish, but they've got like ram horns on their heads, and they're kind of orc-ish. In the movie, they're just barbarians, and then in the like everybody's human in the movie. Like the elves are humans, they're just skinnier humans. The dwarves are just a little bit shorter humans, and so it's like everybody is human. And it's yeah. Which really sucks, because as far as casting goes, I think they actually did a good job casting it. They failed in the writing section where they were converting it to a screenplay.
Yeah.
So
no, I can see that. I was trying to think. So the first one that came to mind, and this is kind of a weird one, because this is one where I saw the movie before I read the book, and I still low key love this movie, but now having read the book, I realized this was a god awful adaptation, but it was just fun. Was Starship Troopers.
okay.
Yeah,
I've never read the book.
It's very different. The book is, I don't know, it's military sci-fi, one of the earliest ones. Is really seminal work, but there's a lot of like it's really trying to make a statement on like politics and patriotism, and it's really trying to make a kind of a heavy statement through the military sci-fi lens. And then you get Starship Troopers, which is the movie is not that. It's a lot of fun. It's a very fun movie. But it is not what Heinlein what he wrote at all.
Okay.
I had this thought too. The only other really the only movie I can think of that the movie is absolutely better than the book is Jaws.
Oh,
The book is good. Jaws is better.
okay.
The movie is just better. The only thing, and like mild spoilers, but this book is like 60 years old at this point. Get
Yeah.
over it. If you've seen the movie, the mayor, there's an interesting like subplot that the mayor is the reason he does the things that he does is because he owes money to the mob. Like the mob is kind of forcing him to keep the city open. And the other thing is Hooper and Chief Brody's wife have an affair. So which adds a layer.
Yeah.
But overall, Jaws the movie, so much better. So much better. So yeah. That's the only one I could think of that was actively much better than the book. So
all right. Well, there we go.
Yeah.
Well, this has been an excellent conversation. Before we move on, though, Random Kid mentioned not a book adaptation, but M. Night's Avatar movie was horrible. Yeah, no, that's very accurate.
Yeah.
In the Avatar community, there is no movie in Ba Sing Se. So
nice. Yeah, M. Night Shyamalan, like he started so strong, and then man, the wheels fell off. But he started kind of coming back and making some decent movies again. So maybe there's hope for him yet.
we'll
but yeah,
see.
we don't Avatar. Like, in what world do you pick M. Night Shyamalan to direct the Avatar movie? Like, just in what world does that make any sense?
None whatsoever. Bizarro world.
Yeah. An M. Night Shyamalan movie is the only place where it makes sense that you would pick M. Night Shyamalan to direct Avatar.
Oh man.
What do you love?
Nope, that's not the right one.
Roll that dice.
There we go. All right.
Stay tuned for this commercial break.
Alrighty. I need some music. We're gonna go with If you would like to support us, you can head on over to patreon.com/wise_n_nerdy, and you can support us over there. That would be amazing. Charles isn't here, but he loves it when he hears from you. You can leave us a Speakpipe, or aka a voicemail. Head on over to wiseandnerdy.com/calldad. Alrighty. And speaking of calling dad, we have some Speakpipes to play. Shame that Charles isn't here, but he'll just have to deal with it. He'll have to deal with it indeed. So this first one comes to us from CaseyJay.
G'day, dads. Casey here. My last family Christmas, I brought along a board game that's just a deck of cards, and it's like a fantasy game that everybody sort of has a character card, and then you sort of take turns drawing from the adventure deck, and you're playing cards against each other and fighting, dragons and things that appear. It's a lot of fun, called Dragon Vault, and I highly recommend it. But afterwards, I decided, talking to my brother, I sort of telling him about a game that I've been developing for the last few years, which is a single-player, completely deck-based game. And he was excited about all the concepts and everything we were discussing. So much so that he went home, and in the last 3 months, he's developed his own single-player card-based game, and it's awesome. And he has, the free time and the capability and motivation, and he's developed this amazing game. And I'm so jealous because that should be me. And I was just wondering, is there a situation where you've shared a passion with somebody about something, and they've outdone you on your own passion project? I'm very curious, if anyone else is in this situation where you want to be happy for them, but it was meant to be your thing.
Ooh.
Yeah, I've had this happen. First off, huge board game nerd. That game, Dragon Vault, I think. I'll have to check that out. I thought you might have been talking about Munchkin at first, and I love Munchkin. So, and game design is something I've done as a freelancer, and I do as a hobby and kind of a side hustle as well. So I'd love to hear, shoot me a message that tells about Bob. I'd love to hear about your game. Anyway, I started freelancing on Fiverr for a while, and I was making decent money. I had a gig where I would write, I'll write, for $10, I'll write 500 words of world building and lore for your tabletop or board game or video game. And I got a friend and turned her onto it. And she pretty quickly she did not pick a super esoteric niche like I did, but she pretty quickly got to where she was making like 4 times as much money as me, and ended up, because of that, she did so much work for ghostwriting for an author that author like took her under her wing and like showed her the ropes, like, oh, well, what if you keep ghostwriting for me, but you should be putting your own books out, and let me show you how to do it. And I'm just sitting over here like, I'm so happy for you and I hate you.
Oh man. Yeah, so what I did a search for Dragon Vault, and a lot of stuff that comes up is Vault of Dragons, but there is actually a dragonvaultgame.com, so I assume it's that one. And just looking at the artwork, I wonder how much of this is AI generated, because the art style switches pretty drastically between the different ones that it's showing on here. But even still, I wonder if it's pretty good. I mean, Casey says it's pretty good, so there's that. But yeah.
I'm on that site. There's some neat. Ooh, I like mushrooms. Oh, but yeah. So yeah, no, I'll have to check that out when this is over. So
yeah, I'll have to look into that more. Yeah, Casey, he's been using some AI artwork to start creating monster art for his board game, and he's shared that in the Wise and Nerdy Discord. And so one of the ones that he had, what did he say the prompt was for it? It was slime cube in caravan. And so it just looks like a truck, but the back of the truck is a giant slime, almost like a gelatinous cube. Nice. Gelatinous cube on wheels.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. I am eagerly awaiting more progress on that.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
But yeah, as far as someone taking my idea and running with it, that is a good question. I nothing's coming to mind. I'm sure it's happened to me before, but nothing is jumping straight to me. So
I'm normally the guy who is doing projects in my group. Like, it would be more common in our friend group that like someone has an idea and I'm like, oh, I think I could do something with that, and then I take it and run with it, and they've long since forgotten about it.
You're the idea stealer.
Yeah, no, I definitely don't steal ideas, but it's just one of those like, I am in our friend group, I'm the guy who like always organizes the game nights and stuff like that, and so okay. If a project is undertaken that is not in some way related to home repairs, it was probably instigated by me, and hopefully take it to completion at some point.
Well, there you go. All right, we've got one more speak pipe that is not a dad joke. We've got several that are dad jokes. We've got one more. This one's from Devocite.
Okay, so left you a couple of jokes. You're welcome, Charles. So I wonder if you guys ever have this. My wife is pimping me out for my plumbing skills. I'm always happy to help out. I'm that kind of a guy. Just always willing to step in, help. but I really find it funny when my wife friends will ask their husband if I can fix their stuff after they've been working on it for a while. I don't know if this is a common thing, and I always kind of feel bad, but at the same time, I just hate seeing things being half done. So kind of curious if you guys ever run into this.
Well, you messed up by having a marketable skill. You know, my wife is not pimping me out to go write books for people. So, but that said, I am literally to Saturday. I am driving probably close to 4 hours round trip to pick up a washer from someone for my in-laws, because my wife volunteered me to do it because I had made the mistake of buying a truck. So now I'm the guy with the truck. And so
oh yeah, you get asked for a lot of things when you're the guy with the truck.
I'm lucky that in my immediate friend group, someone in every couple has a truck. But in my in-laws family, all my wife's family, I'm the only one with a truck. So I get anything that requires a truck, I get called.
All right.
I'm happy to help.
Random kid. Your wife, the pimp. Sounds like a mini series. I wouldn't mind trying. Oh man.
A nice slice of life anime. I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
I haven't watched it, but the Way of the Husbandman or whatever keeps getting recommended to me on Netflix. It's an anime. I think he's like a retired mob guy who's now a stay-at-home dad or something. But anyway, yeah, I have become tech support for so many people because I am a computer guy. So whenever there's a problem, I am the go-to person. Like my in-laws, they text me like, Joe, can you tell me what to do on the computer? I'm like, okay, let's FaceTime so I can actually see what it is you're trying to describe to me. Or like downstairs in their basement, they have some older Nintendo consoles from when their kids were younger, my wife and her brother. And so they've got a Nintendo 64 and a GameCube down there that's hooked up to an old VCR. Because it's got the red, white, and yellow connections, and they had no idea how to actually get it working, and so I wrote step-by-step instructions. Change it to channel 2, turn on the power on the VHS, and so yeah, they still have that in the cupboard right there that they reference anytime my kids come over and want to play the games, so that they can get them up on the TV. But yeah, as far as skills that I'm pimped out for, that's the one.
See, I got lucky, and my older brother although I work in tech, I work as like a technical writer. I don't have to understand the technology. I just have to write the technology. So my older brother, he's the real tech guy. So I'm a faux tech guy. So he gets all those phone calls. So
yeah, it's rough being dependable sometimes.
Yeah.
All right.
Roll that dice.
Bad dad jokes.
All right. I know you've got one prepared. Did you want to start before we go to our audience members?
Sure. I'll lay this one on you. So, I spent a summer working in a Parisian boatyard with a few other guys. We didn't make much money, but the real treasure was the French ships we built along the way.
Oh man.
I love it. I love it. My wife. It's a wonder I'm still married.
My wife, she occasionally sends me reels that are dad jokes, hoping that I'll use some of them for the show. Oh
Nice.
man.
Nice.
So, but yeah, if you haven't made your kid grown today, are you really a parent? I mean, just get on it.
Luckily, our kiddo, me and her have the same sense. Like, she has dad joke sense of humor. As a young teen girl, she has dad joke humor. So we'll just riff on each other going back and forth, and I love it. And her mom sits there and just sobs softly into her hands.
Oh man. All right, so we've got 2 from Devocite and 2 from Casey. I think we're gonna go with 1 from each and save the other 2 for next week, because to be honest, the dad jokes are fun, but the audience loves to hear Charles groan.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right, so we'll do 1 from each of them, and then we'll roll the dice again. So this one is from Devocite.
What did one Egyptian worker say to the other? This job really stinks.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh man.
I like how you've been farming these jokes out. It's like it's a pyramid scheme.
Oh well, and I don't have to go looking for dad jokes most of the time because there's so many that are in our Discord already. So I can just scroll through there, and I put a check mark on the ones that I've used already from our Discord, so I already know which ones I've used. It's great.
Nice.
I love our patrons. It's a great group. All right, so this one is from Casey.
Today, my wife asked me, could you please give me a bookmark? I couldn't help but cry. All these years, and she doesn't know my name's Casey.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Oh, those poor dads who were named Mark. They can't use that joke.
Right? Casey, did you think that was very insensitive of you? Did you think about the marks when you told that joke? I love it. I love it.
Oh, man.
Roll that dice.
All right. Have we done both of these? Let's check. No, we have not. All right.
Let Daddy decide.
Which is How Do I? So this week it's How Do I Protect My Computer from viruses? Oh. Do you have any ideas?
I mean, I just wipe it and start over. I have gotten better over the years on being able to judge what sites are safe to go to and what aren't, and what links I shouldn't be clicking.
I mean, that's not like 95% of keeping your computer safe is knowing when not to click on stuff.
Yeah. So on the rare occasion that it just totally gets away from me, we just wipe it and start over. I'm the worst tech guy ever.
from random kid. That's certainly one approach. So there are a lot of ways, like you said, that's the biggest way is learning which links are safe or not. In general, if you get an email from someone you don't recognize, do not click any of those links. Same with texts. If you get texts from people you don't recognize, don't click those links. Teach your grandparents. Don't give their passwords to people. I've got a Facebook friend who this last week has posted several news stories of older people getting had for thousands and thousands of dollars because they're like, I got a call from my bank. No, that's not your bank. If I even think it's even possible that it's not my bank, I ask for a callback number, and then I go online and I search that callback number and see if it's associated with that bank. If it's not, I will literally find the number that I have for the bank, call them, and say, hey, I got a call about this. Do you see anything on my account that would represent a reason for that call? You don't give out information over the phone. Like I don't make payments over the phone. I've had medical people call me and be like, hey, your bill is due, or you can, if you want to pay a lump sum instead of, in payments, we'll dock off 50% of your bill or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I'll come in to your office and I will pay it. And I would like a receipt as well. And so I've had several of those where they were legitimate, but I'm like, I'm not giving you my credit card information over the phone. It's not happening. And so, yeah, I mean, that doesn't have anything to do with computer viruses per se, that instance, but just scams in general. You got to be careful of it. And there are some really good antivirus softwares out there that are free. One of the ones that I've used for years is Avast. It has a premium one. I've never used the premium one, but it is a free computer virus software program that works really well. Now, I will tell people, don't have multiple computer antivirus softwares, because a lot of times they will fight each other, because depending on how they're programmed, some of them are programmed to scan a file after it's been accessed, which is not the smartest way of doing it, but some are programmed to do that. And if you have two of them on your machine that are programmed to do that, they access the file to scan it, and then they just keep accessing all of your files that you have accessed during that session, and they will consume all of your computer's resources in a very short amount of time. So go with one computer virus antivirus software that you trust, and go for it. And they don't, like I said, I use a free one. They don't have to be these expensive ones that everyone has heard of, like Norton Antivirus, which is also known to be a resource hog, regardless of whether it's by itself or not. But yeah,
actually, last time I was proactive, I used Avast, and I haven't put on this laptop because this is kind of a newer laptop, but my last laptop I had Avast on it. So, but yep. I'm kind of terrible, so I haven't put on this one yet. So, but now that we've had this conversation, I probably will go and do that later tonight. So
yeah, it's a good one. I've had this computer for 3 or 4 years now, and I only actually recently put Avast on it. I had used Avast previously on a previous computer, but I had noticed that my resources were bogged down a bit more than normal, and it didn't say that it found a virus, but it did say that it found some memory configurations that were off. And so I don't know exactly what it did, but I know that after I did that, my RAM usage went down significantly. So whatever configuration was there, and it could have been like programs that had services that were installed and not uninstalled when I removed it or something like that. They could have been very innocuous stuff, that it was just stuff that wasn't needed anymore. And it said, hey, this doesn't need to run. It's not attached to anything or something like that. I don't know what it fully did, but having a free antivirus is a good practice, even for those that know which stuff not to click.
Yeah. But I will say, partly in my defense, I have found the older I get, the fewer sites I go to. Like at this point, I essentially just cycle through the same like 8 websites. It's like Reddit to Wikipedia to Facebook to Kindle to Amazon back to Reddit. Like I think back to when the internet was a lot newer and just going and finding all these crazy weird sites. Like that was half the fun. And I haven't done anything.
Get your LimeWire on.
Oh God, man, that if I had a nickel for every virus I downloaded off LimeWire, I would be retired now. The good old days.
Yep. Oh man, yeah. We'll have to do a follow-up about how to teach your kids to be safe on the internet as a follow-up to this. That's a good way to prevent your computer from getting viruses.
Well, it's not like it's really kind of goes both ways. Unfortunately, it's how to teach your kids, but it's also how to teach your parents. You know? Because like you said earlier about the your friend who was sharing those links, like it's a huge problem. I mean, many thousands of elderly people every year get scammed out of money from
what equates to millions of dollars every year.
Yeah. So and I really need to sit my mom down and just be like, hey, let's talk about your internet usage. In a crazy parallel, because she had that conversation with me as a teenager, but mine was about the sites I was going to with the adult content on them.
Oh man.
Don't think I'm gonna have to have that conversation with her. So
no, older people prefer their dusty lusties. Anyway,
moving on.
Roll that dice.
All right.
What are you nerding out about now?
All right. You had something that sounded rather exciting that I have not heard about.
Yeah. This was so I love one sheet RPGs. Just it's RPGs that is exactly what it sounds like. They all fit on one sheet of paper. There's a ton of really great ones out there. Honey Heist is kind of the biggest game in that space, the most popular. Critical
Honey
Role.
Heist.
Yeah, Critical Role did. They played a session of Honey. They did a Honey Heist one shot. But these one sheet RPGs, they're primarily designed to be one shots. It takes no time to prepare. You can just get out the sheet of paper, teach everyone how to play in like 2 minutes, and then go. So I've been introducing these to my RPG group, and we played the Witch is Dead is my favorite, and we've played that. And so we were wrapping up another game. It's a map making game called A Quiet Year, which is a weird offshoot genre of RPGs, but it was a lot of fun. Anyway, we wrapped that up and we had a couple hours left. It's like, oh, we don't want to go home yet. So I pulled out a game I'd heard a lot of good things about called Everyone is John. And the title of it, like the subtitle is like a game for 3 or more terrible people. which is my friend group. So but the premise is John is a man who is insane, just a guy. He's actually a guy that's like really bad at pretty much everything, but he has a number of voices in his head, and so each player plays one of the voices in his head, and you pick if you're one of the voices, you pick 2 skills. These are the things that you're actually good at, and you pick 1 obsession, and you keep that secret.
Okay.
And so what happens is you have a pile of willpower, and every time John falls asleep, gets knocked unconscious, gets bored, like if 10 minutes go by and nothing's really happened, he gets bored. Um, or a voice fulfills its obsession. Anytime that happens, all the voices can bid willpower to see who now takes control of John. And so you, throughout this game, you're constantly swapping who's the voice in control of John, and you're trying to secretly fulfill your obsessions. So we had a guy, one of our players, his obsession was getting into fist fights. He wanted to get into a fist fight. So he would steer John in the direction of that. Anytime I got into a fist fight, then all right, everyone comes together and we're going to bid on, what, see who takes control next. And it was absolutely crazy, zany fun. Whenever John falls asleep, I was the game master. You do not tell them where he wakes up at. You say who wants control, and once you figure out who has control, then I'm like, okay. So when I started the game, I was like, okay, you wake up. John wakes up, and he is in the champagne room of the most dive bar strip club you've ever seen. Proceed. And the guy who won was the guy who liked to get into fist fights, and he fought a stripper. So it's like, and it went downhill from there in the best, most fun way possible. It was good, zany fun. And so I'd heard a lot of good things. I was a little hesitant just because I wasn't quite sure how this would play out. I kind of struggled to see how this game is going to have a suitable length to it. But now that I've played it, I see it's got like the perfect length for it. I'm probably going to try and run this live at some convention in the near future. I don't know which one, maybe Conjuration or something like that. But it was a ton of fun. So
there you go.
Yeah. So check it out. You can get it for free online. So
would it work to have the audience be John? Like you could run it as a panel?
You probably could. I ran The Witch is Dead as a live play at Conjuration, and I literally just I had a couple of author friends agree to play, and then it was like, oh, I really need a couple more folks, and I just asked, hey, anyone in the crowd want to come play this game? And 2 people came up, and it was fantastic, So I could definitely see the fun thing to do would be you have your panelists, and then you make the crowd pick their skills, what skills they're good at.
There you
go. Because one of the guys, he picked his skill, and I did not understand why he picked this. His skill was burping the alphabet. He could burp the alphabet. But his obsession was getting people to look at him with disdain. That was his obsession. And he thought, oh, well, I'll burp the alphabet at these people, and they'll be like, oh, what are you doing? But he failed the roll every time he tried to do that. This guy nailed, he was, if anyone won, everyone is John, it was him. He was just killing it. But every time he went to roll to try and burp the alphabet, he failed every time. It was so good. And meanwhile, everyone's like, why are you even trying to do this? What's going on here?
Man. So it's just the many personalities of John.
Yeah. So it was a lot of fun. And it's one that there's no someone who's never played a role-playing game before, seriously, you can teach someone how to play this in 3 minutes, and the rules are super easy. It's a good entry point to show people how theater of the mind works. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've recently had a new kid join my D&D group, and he's never played D&D before. He's in his late teens, I think. My brother met him playing Minecraft. He joined us, and he's starting to get that D&D isn't a video game. He came in very much with a video game mindset, and so we're trying to break him of that and let him know that it's more of a collaborative storytelling game.
Yeah.
And so, like, there was once when he was like, I want to go swimming in the ocean and look for a dragon egg. I'm like, okay. And so I'm sitting here, I'm like, I don't want to say no, but
Right.
I was like, the chances of finding a random dragon egg on a random beach are next to nil. So I'm like, all right, roll me an investigation check. And basically I was like, he's got to get a nat 20, and then I'm going to have him roll a percentile dice, and he's got to get 100. If he gets both of those, sure, you can find a dragon egg.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But yeah.
I had a roommate that had that. He was late 20s and had never played before, and we sat down like, oh man, you've heard a lot about it, you've always wanted to play, now's your chance. But he was so much in that video game mindset that he could not he couldn't make the adjustment, and he played 2 sessions, and we were like just trying to be like, man, no, like, I see why you would think that. But he would always say like, well, if this was such and such game, I could do this. Like, that's cool.
This isn't such and such game.
Yeah, we're not playing Half-Life. We're playing Dungeons and Dragons. So I would say for someone like that, if you just really want like 4th edition D&D, was about the closest version to a video game. Like it felt very World of Warcraft-esque to me, and how it worked. I hated it, but that is an option.
Random kid, give him a dragon egg, but make it a demon lizard.
Yes.
Except he spelled demon Deamon, and so that makes me think like an electronic daemon, like a mailer demon.
Yeah.
So now in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, it's gonna hatch and it's just gonna send spam mail to everyone every time they go to town. Every time they go to town, this lizard's gonna run off to the mail to the post office and send spam mail to all your friends.
It could be a DEA mun, and it's a drug enforcement agent. A lot of ways you could go with it.
Oh man.
So what are you nerding out about?
Yeah. So this it's been going on for a little while now. It's going to end up having, I think, 28 episodes total. It's still got 1 or 2 left. Frieren, Beyond Journey's End. It's an anime, and it's a bit different. So it's a fantasy anime where the main character is an elf, and her sense of time is very warped, because she's going to live hundreds of years. So if a task takes them 2 years, that's nothing, whereas a human is like, this is going to take 2 years, what? And so it actually starts off with her and her party having just defeated a demon lord. And they're walking through town for a parade, and they're like, "This is great." There's a couple of humans in the group, a dwarf, and then there's her, the elf, and so the humans are like, "Wow, this took 10 years," and the elf is like, 10 years, whatever," and so they agree to meet up in 80 years for this celestial event that's going to happen. And so it does kind of a time skip, and she's coming back to meet up with them, and they're all super old, right? And she starts to regret not having spent more time with these people and gotten to know them better and things like that. And so her journey, the Beyond Journey's End, she decides that she's basically going to end up retracing the 10-year journey that they had done to defeat the Demon Lord. And so it's very interesting concept because it's after, you know, the conflict of the world, and it's fun. And so I like it. She's very, the main character Firen, she's very quirky. Obviously, and her sense of time is very off, but even other things she's very quirky about too. Like, she is obsessed with finding or learning as much magic as she can, whether it's some ridiculous spell that does next to nothing. She doesn't care. She just wants to collect every grimoire and learn every bit of magic she can. And so that pops up in her personality quite a bit. And she, during the show, she pulls out these just random spells that are just complete chaos, but it's awesome.
Yeah.
So
no, I've been hearing about it and I've really been wanting to check it out. Partly because I really enjoy media that kind of explores that, like, okay, we've defeated the Dark Lord, now what? Like, one of my all-time favorite books is Grunts by Mary Gentle. It's an older book, but the premise is it's about a group of orcs that the Dark Lord gets defeated, and now what do? And in this case, they wind up with machine guns. It gets weird. It's a lot of fun. It's real over the top, but it's a lot of fun. But so I enjoy that. But the other thing is, like, so much with fantasy, what you see is an elf is really just a human. An orc is really just a human. Sure, oh, they've got some mild cultural differences, but you don't really see a lot of people that really do a good job of exploring kind of the real implications of, like, you are going to live for hundreds of years. You are going to view things very differently than a human. And so that is intentionally intriguing. And if I had Crunchyroll, I would already have watched it, but I don't have Crunchyroll yet, so may have to get it just for this because I want to see it that bad. But
yeah, I wonder. So Crunchyroll, there is some stuff that is available for free. I don't know if
probably not this because it was so popular. I just feel like that's going to be one they're like, no, pay us.
Well, and what they'll do a lot of times is they'll make the first 3 episodes available.
Those teases. Teases.
Although it does not look like they did that with Firen.
Yeah,
I pulled it up just to check.
Too good. It's too good. That's fine.
It is very good. But yeah, there's some stuff where you can watch all of it on Crunchyroll. They've got some stuff that's available for free with obviously with ads. But yeah.
No, I'm absolutely looking forward to that. To watching it. It sounds really right up my alley. So
yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff. All right, well, we've got one more segment.
It's personal story time.
So, rumor has it, Bob, you have many tales to tell, and one of them is about picking up a hitchhiker. Yeah. What is that all about?
Okay, so I've actually picked up a lot of hitchhikers. There's a not 0% chance that my tombstone is going to read was stabbed by a hobo. It could happen, yes, and somehow I'm still alive. And what's going to make this even more crazy, like at this point, I've probably picked up around 20 hitchhikers. This is the story of the very first hitchhiker I ever picked up. To set the scene, it is 2009. The economy just tanked. I got laid off and divorced in a 3-month period.
Ooh,
and then like
rough
6
times.
months. Yeah, it was great time to be
You're
alive.
like, I'm gambling with the hitchhiker.
Yeah, right. What did I have to
Oh
lose?
man.
So I had and I lost my unemployment like 6 or 9 months after that. I got screwed over by a temp agency. So my dad was hiring me to come down and he lived about an hour away, and he would hire me to come do work for him. And so it was Father's Day. Oh, the other thing you need to know, me and my dad loved my dad. We could not be around each other for prolonged periods of time because we were too similar. We would butt heads real hard. So it's Father's Day. I have just enough gas to get me to my parents' house, but not enough to get back. And I don't have enough money. But my parents will give me money when I get there. The problem is they live in backwoods Alabama, and the only gas station is closed on Sundays. And this was a Sunday. So in my head, I was like, I'm just going to go see my dad. I'm just going to have to spend the night, which I don't want to do. But, it's Father's Day. I'm not going to miss Father's Day. I'm halfway there. I have $3 in change. I stop at a gas station to get my last $3 in gas. And this woman walks out of the gas station. She's somewhere between the ages of like 30 and 50. Meth has clearly been a factor in her life. She is wearing she's a fairly small woman, but she's wearing like a 3X shirt with an American eagle and flag on the front. And she's wearing like Daisy Duke short pink shorts with kitty across the back. It's a bold ensemble.
Yeah.
And so she walks up and she's got a bag that is full of cartons of cigarettes. And she says, "Hey, look, I live just a couple miles up this road. If you'll take me home, I'll give you $10 in gas." And to me, it was like the heavens had opened up and a beam of light illuminated her. It's like that $10 would be enough money to get me gas to get home, because this is back when gas was affordable. And so I was like, yeah, sure. So I handed her my $3. She goes inside. She buys $13 in gas. She comes out with a suitcase of beer and a bag full of cigarettes. And I pump the gas. We get into my car. At this point, I drove a little S10 pickup truck, stick shift. And so I crank the truck on, turn on the radio, and Hotel California by the Eagles is playing. And this woman proceeds to lose her mind. She's singing at the top of her lungs. She's like hooping and hollering. And she does like this, like she raises her hand and what I assume is a high five. And I'm not going to leave a high five hanging. I'm not a monster. So I high five her, except she wasn't trying to high five me. She interlocks her fingers with my hand and like starts pulling my hand towards her. And so I'm like,
while you're driving,
a stick shift, mind you. I'm like, hey, I got to change gears. Well, she asked, like, hey, look, I've got these cigarettes. These cigarettes actually came from this gas station up here. I need to go up there and pay for these cigarettes. If you don't mind, take me there. I'm going to pay for these cigarettes, and then you can take me home. I'm like, okay, sure, fine. I know where the gas station is. It's
so
like
she basically just said, I stole them, but I need to go pay for them?
I don't know.
Okay.
We've not hit felony status yet. That's coming. So, all right.
Spoiler alert.
Right. So we get to this gas station. She goes inside. I immediately cut. Oh, and she also is like, every time she hears the Eagles, she starts jerking her shirt to like as though the American eagle on the front of her shirt has anything to do with the band the Eagles. Anyway,
okay.
She gets out to go pay for the cigarettes. I immediately cut the radio off. We're going to be running silent now. I'm not going through that again. She gets back in the truck and she says, "Hey, look, these cigarettes actually belong to my boyfriend." Now, keep in mind, the reason she didn't have a ride was because her boyfriend had abandoned her. Okay. So, she's like, my boyfriend lives right up here, and she tells me where. And Highland Home, Alabama, doesn't really have like it. it's a couple gas stations in the middle of nowhere, right? They're not really neighborhoods, but as much as there's like a wrong side of the track, that's the neighborhood you don't go into. This is that place. I'm like, hmm. So my head kind of warred in two directions. One was like, she's a damsel in distress. She's a methed out damsel in distress, but she's a damsel in distress nonetheless. The other side was, you are going to die. All right. So these two sides are kind of wrangling back and forth. And what I finally decided was like, look, I'm just going to go with it because it'll make a great story if I live. So we go, and we get back into this really sketchy trailer park, and I stop. She goes inside to drop off the cigarettes, and I look to my left, and there are two guys. What I thought they were like shooting craps in like this dirt driveway. I couldn't figure out what they were doing. Turns out they were digging up one of the guy's stash of weed. They then walk to in front of my truck to handle the transaction. At which point she comes out of the trailer, buys a dime bag, and gets into my truck. And she looks at me like, oh, don't look at me like that. And I'm just like, that's it. I'm going to jail. Like, I'm going to get pulled over. She's never seen this weed before. She has no idea where it came from. And I'm going to go to jail. Like, I just knew it, you know? I was like, you know what? To heck with it. We're just going. We're going. All right. So we're now finally heading to her house. But at this point, we have to backtrack like 15 miles to get to where we started from, so I can now drive down her road.
Okay.
Right. So at that, we're not even out of this neighborhood yet, and she looks in her bag and she finds like $6. She's like, "Is this your money?" It's like, "No, I gave you my money." And she's like thrusting this wad of money in my face. Like, "Is this your money? Where did this come from?" I was like, "Look, I only had $3. I gave it to you. That's $6. It can't be mine. Like, just calm down. Just count it as a blessing." Well, what stopped her from freaking out about that was she saw that I had a tape in my tape deck, and it was Headless Cross, which was a god-awful Black Sabbath album. It was never supposed to be a Black Sabbath album. It was supposed to be a Tony Iommi solo album, but the label made him call it Black Sabbath, and it was not good. She immediately plugs it in, cranks it to 11, and starts hooping and hollering. And she at this point, I had long hair. I had hair down middle of my back, and she reaches over, curls her fingers into my hair, like pulls me towards her, and is like shouting at the top of her lungs about how her and her brother used to ride the dirt roads like this. And I'm just like, what is happening here? Like, oh my God. So I get the music cut down. We finally get to her road. And she lived a few houses down this road. Okay, she lived like 30 houses down this road, and this is backwoods Alabama. So it's a ways down this road. So we're driving, and she proceeds to take her shirt and roll it up to like right to where her bra is. And she has like, I don't know, it looked like she had been shot and it had been bandaged. I don't know if she'd been stabbed. I don't know if she'd been shot. I don't know if she had a kidney removed. I don't know what it was, but there was like a bloody gauze bandage there. Man. And so I was like, "That's it. Like, I'm about to get my kidney harvested. Like, this is how this ends. You know, I'm going to wake up in a bathtub, Charlie. Yeah. What exactly? So we finally get to her house, which is this really nice gate. Like the gate that you would think for like a country manor, okay? But you can see through the gate, and the only thing behind it is like a half-ruined mobile home that I would not have let my dog live in, okay? And she starts to get out of the car, and she leans back in. It's like, is there anything I can do to repay you? And like it is very clear what she is insinuating. And I said, you can tell me the quickest way to get back to the highway. And she got mad. She got really mad. She said, fine, it's that way. And stormed off through the gate, and I never saw her again. And so I've proceeded to pick up, a couple dozen more hitchhikers since then.
You're like, just getting stories for my books.
Yeah, no, and that was the wildest. But I've had a number of other wild experiences. So.
Oh man, much more wild than the couple of hitchhikers that I have picked up. Well, actually, they weren't really hitchhikers. They were people that I saw walking in the rain, and I'm like, I'll give you a ride. I don't know who you are, but I'll get
Yeah.
But oh man, that was quite the doozy of a story.
Yeah.
Quite the doozy. The only thing that would have made it even crazier is if it had some sand in it that nobody liked because no one likes the beach. and that's the
Amen.
podcast.
Amen.
Actually, before it's the podcast, head over to talesbybob.com to see all of the wonderful things that Bob is up to, from podcasts to books. Check that out. Bob is great. And that's the show, everybody.
Woo!
Follow these nerdy dads on social media. Charles at Rock God of Podcasting. Joe at Joseph_Ard. Check out the website, wiseandnerdy.com. And as always, they may not be your father, but they'll always be your daddy.